There's a code of conduct form and a registration form in your pack. You must fill out that form and sign it. And at the end of the session, you hand it back to the registration tent, and they got another pack that they're going to give you. So you'll only get that pack if you give that form back. Is that okay? So you need to please make sure that you give the form back at the end of the session this afternoon. Are you all excited? Sure. First time I saw students excited about mathematics. But that's good. So today I just want to invite someone very special, and that's Dr. Govender. Dr. Segi Govender is a retired medical professional. Is now pioneered an organization called ABC Ministries, which resources leaders all over the world. So we are very privileged to have him and his wife attend this afternoon just to be with us. And he's just going to greet us today, and then he's going to share a word of prayer, and we're going to get into the session. So thank you, Dr. Govender. Can you put your hands together for him?
Thank you, Ralph. It's such a privilege for me to be here with the learners and to initiate this pilot. We know that this is going to gain momentum all over our country, and we thank you all for participating. And we know that as we have come and gathered within this church, hosted by Pastor Ralph, that I just want to say to you that God is the God of mathematics. The Bible tells us all things were created by him, whether they be thrones, dominions, principalities, or powers. All things were created by him and for him. He is the God of addition. The Bible tells us to faith add virtue, to virtue add knowledge, to knowledge add self-control, to self-control add patience, to patience add godliness, to godliness add brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness add love. So you see, God is a God of addition. He is a God of multiplication. We know the story of how he took 5 loaves and 2 fish and multiplied them and fed over 20,000. He's a God of subtraction. We know that he whittled down Gideon's army from 32,000 to 10,000, finally to 300. He's also the God of division. He's a God of trigonometry. He's a God of geometry. As you study the Bible, you'll see that. And the Bible tells us that Daniel was 10 times wiser than the people of the world. And you too can become wiser. I believe maths is very, very important. It is a gateway subject for students. But I want you to know that maths is spiritual also. It was created by God. And we are very concerned as a church that last year only 20% succeeded in maths. And now the church wants to get involved in South Africa to make sure that the maths results get better and better. We are so grateful particularly to Dr. Daniel for his commitment and all the other partners for the commitment to this pilot project. We wanted to use Faith Revival Church that takes over 5,000 learners, but we wanted to start it small, and we pray that this would be the initiation of great things. So let's just pray at this moment. Father, we thank you for all the learners that have gathered. We thank you for all the partners. Thank you for Pastor Ralph, Dr. Daniel, and Lord, all the principals of the schools that are here. We ask for great grace upon the learners, that they would excel. We ask, Lord, that you'd walk over their minds. Lord, I pray that you'll remove from them the spirit of fear and give to them the spirit of excellence, that they would become 10 times wiser. I pray after this interaction, we thank you, Lord, great grace will come upon them, and maths results will excel in this country, and we know that our country will become highly productive because of the young learners that are excelling in this gateway subjects. So we bless you and declare your great grace upon all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Dr. Govender, for those words of encouragement and motivation. We're going to get straight into the session this afternoon. For those of you that have just joined us, welcome to you. So we have Cephas Isla Secondary School with us. We have Mount View Secondary School with us. And we have, is there any other schools? Where's Elisha? Elisha, are you from Sylvester? Sylvester Secondary. Any other schools beside the three that I mentioned? No. Okay. At this time, it's my sincere privilege to invite to share with us today Dr. Daniel Phillips Krupanandan. Dr. Daniel is the Deputy Chief Educational Specialist for Maths and Science, and he is a consultant to government. Some of you may have heard of Dr. Daniel, and he is responsible for pioneering this project today, and we have partnered with him. All the material that you have received has actually been put together by Dr. Daniels, and is made freely available to you. So he's going to explain some of the material and share a session with us today, and he will also introduce his guest who's with us as well, Chris Bouchers. So I'm going to hand over to Dr. Daniel. Please welcome him as he shares with us today. Thank you.
In front of students, it's been my passion to be in front of kids like you, so it's a great honor. You might think that you're coming here to learn, and that is the main purpose of this afternoon, but you don't know what a privilege I have to contribute to the shaping of minds of the next generation of scientists. And I want you to take seriously the fact that when you're sitting here this afternoon, it's a privilege second to none. It's the first time that I'm doing this at this level. I do it for many other programs. For those of you who are watching from different parts of the world, welcome to South Africa. It's in a very humble church. Pastor Ralph and others and partners who put together this program. We are indeed not concerned, but we celebrate this opportunity. It's not an opportunity that comes easy. And when you look at maths and science as being something integral to your future careers, we're willing to make this sacrifice to give you the very best. And the material that you have in front of you in a booklet is quite thick. It's close to 6 to 8 centimeters thick. It's a collection of material that is used countrywide. So the children in Western Cape, the children in Gauteng. So this is a South African classroom. This is an international classroom. So you must recognize yourself as being somebody who's getting access to the very best information. And I say that very humbly. Okay? So having said that and welcomed you and saying, in a sense, we're going to try, and I'm going to do the best that I can together with my friend, Chris Boucher. He's one of the teachers, senior teachers from the Live School, and of course we got Saras from Sefashista Saroj from the Sefashista School across the road. And they, when I mentioned this program to them, just to give this in context of my family and friends who are watching that in other schools, I've pasted this on my Facebook account with 6,000 teachers, so they will be watching and sharing with their children as well. Okay? So you are a South African classroom. I want you to recognize that. So don't try to move around and try to limit your movement around. Be free to ask questions, especially those that I can answer. Okay? And we're going to have some fun. And you must be relaxed. And at the very outset, let me say to you, you must be relaxed, because you, and the 11th commandment for listening to me is that thou shalt not write when Daniel is teaching. You're not allowed to write. Brilliant students don't write when you're learning. Weak students do that. When you're learning, first get into your brain. Understand what is being told to you. Then you write down what you understand. If you are writing when I'm talking, you're concentrating on the writing and the spelling and the figures, and you're not listening to me. You must not postpone your learning experience. You mustn't go back home now and try to assimilate what has been written. It's doubling your teaching time. Now, you get it, understand it, and I'll give you some time to take that down. Okay? So, welcome to this program. And let me say that the interest of this program and your commitment to this program will determine how far we go with this and how wide we're going to go with this. Obviously, I'm the DCS for Maths and Physics, and obviously we have friends who want to help. I spoke to Professor Megan Govender. He's watching at the moment from University of UKZN. but he cannot be here because he's doing an internal audit with his department. Okay? So there are many people who are interested in supporting you, and if you are diligent and you attend regularly and you show us your interest and in terms of your behavior and attitude, why others are going to come in here in their numbers. We limited this to only 2 schools. In fact, I had to refuse one of the students from parents who know about it, and said no. If I say yes to that school, then all the other schools from Phoenix and Verulam will want to be here. So you are handpicked to be here. Use this chance. Also, in terms of listening to this program, don't ever worry too much about where you are in the March test. We set a very, very interesting and above average March test. You must understand that you've had 2 years of struggles in grade 10 and in grade 11, and I must compliment you. You've come to the 12 years or end of your program. It's a motivation talk that I give to all the schools that I speak at. You must be congratulated that you made it. There are many students who didn't make it. We lost, at the beginning of this year, in the floods, we lost 66 learners who passed away whilst they were sleeping or going to school. So God has spared you so that you can become the next generation of leaders. We're looking at people up here who are going to be doctors. Forget about what mark you got for the moment, right? Those things can change. Anybody can change if you're willing to put your mind to it. I know that almost half the year is gone. You just basically got about a week or 2 for your June exams, and about 3 weeks later, you'll write your trial examinations. But you might ask me many questions, and I tried very hard to put this first program together and try to think of what I say. It's my daily job to go around to schools and motivate learners and so on. But the main ingredient of trying to do well, you're going to ask me this question, and maybe I should answer this question at the beginning. Your strategy, besides praying and allowing God to give you the increase and the excellence in mathematics, you must understand that you have to manage your life and your study time. Success in maths doesn't come a night before the exam. You're going to be frustrated, okay? You're going to find that you wouldn't sleep. You'll want to resort to Red Bull and many other things to drink and stimulants. Those things don't work. All they will give you is a headache, and you'll be hyped up. You'll get blacked out in the examination. Be relaxed. Take what we're saying to you, assimilate that, and have a management plan. The material that you're going to be getting today is right at the head. This is distributed countrywide. So you want to know, how can that student who's getting 100% at Crawford LaLucia, how is a student at any one of my Red M schools getting 100%? They're using the same material. So you are touching material that is in the hands of the best in the country. There is no reason for you to do anything less. All you need to do is to put your mind to it from the beginning of this program and say, you know what, I'm going to give this the best that I can. Mathematics is easy. Focus your mind on it. Of course, there are certain perceptions about the subject. Many people over generations, parents, friends, and so on, say, don't choose maths. It's the most difficult thing. It's difficult for sure, but if you have a mindset and understanding and saying, I can do this, it's easy. All right. Having said all of that, I'm just going to give you a sort of introduction. We have many weeks and days. I'm going to bring in other partners and so on. Today, Chris is going to help me. The first thing that I want to begin with, so all of you must be relaxed. When you're comfortable, and you must enjoy this thing, and if you like what you're listening, you say, amen. I do that in my big meetings and so on, okay? So when you're enjoying something, this amen, it keeps you awake, right? So at least I know that you are listening to what I'm saying. Don't fall off to sleep. It's dangerous to fall off to sleep in a maths lesson. It's a very grave mistake to make, all right? So let's start. Now, I know that the way I chose this date was very, very scientifically done, because you're writing your examinations on the first paper on the 10th of June. And that paper there is a 3-hour examination paper. Now, one of the reasons why we chose to write this exam paper is at 3 hours, simply because you had some trimming in your grade 10 year, you had some trimming in grade 11, there are some topics you didn't or not taught in grade 10 and 11, which means that some of you, or nearly all of you, depending on your teachers or whatever, In addition to what is being set, the final paper for this year has already been decided. So it's not a covert paper, it's not a storm paper, it's a blessed, full-blooded, world cutting-edge examination paper. Our task this afternoon is to prepare you for any examination paper. Can I get an amen? Ah, that's my students. When you speak that way, I'll tell you more, okay? Right, so let's just do this. So this is in the hands of all students in this country, or rather in this province. This is a document that goes to every maths teacher, and those students are watching in your homes, and teachers and so on who are listening to this. This is called the examination scope. If you don't study this, if you don't know which lane you're going to be running in, you'll be disqualified if you change lanes. So that lane in the center there is your June exam. That is a breakdown of your examination paper, okay? Now, the reason why I'm sharing that, so that you begin to understand the length and the breadth of what you're expected to prepare. If you look very carefully, the first part of that is on algebra, equations, and inequalities. Now, we've prepared a booklet on all the possible questions that you need to revise on, and that is on algebra. And if you take this booklet, which will be given to you just now, this is a collection of 13 years of papers, right? Chris is going to show you how to use this a little later on to best advantage, okay? For now, that part of the paper for 28 marks, that is already agreed upon, can be best practice. Maths is a subject that requires continuous practice. The more questions you do, the more sharper you're going to become. Your skills in any examination paper, I've said many of them, the skills do not change, the problems change. So solving for X, the skill is again going to be in every exam paper. So prepare, it's a mindset thing, okay? So in this question booklet here, you're going to be hearing a lot or having practice with that, okay? So I'm going to take some examples that are there. Now, then the next topic below that for 60, or rather 28 marks is patterns and sequences. Now, this is a topic that's powerful. It has to do with quadratic sequences, right? It has to do with the arithmetic sequences, and it has to do with geometric sequences. In your power pack, I'm going to call this the power pack, because after you leave here, you're going to be empowered with a lot of material. There is a special booklet here designed for patterns and sequences, right? So the way it's done in this book, I didn't sort of prepare accordingly, but I can just show you, right? Let's look at this book together. I was going to say, let's open to the New Testament, but I realized that right? I'm glad that you're having fun, right? Because we need to do that, okay? Okay, okay, here we are. I think the person who engineered this book here has got in my book a yellow booklet, yellow page. So we're looking at this document here, if you can watch carefully. It's sequences and series, all right? Now, there's finance and growth, my son, is different to this one. This one says sequences and series. It's towards the, if you look at the thickness, that is where, it's in the New Testament, okay? Somewhere, yeah, it's towards the end of the Bible, okay? You want my copy? It's the same thing that is there, all right? Yeah. All right, so look for the yellow page and you'll find it. Some people, listen, besides being good in maths, you've got to be good in seeking as well. So look for your yellow page, right? Oh, okay. Oh, well, I think some yellow pages look blue. Okay, so this, but anyway, here we are, right? In this booklet here, I will refuse to talk if you're talking, right? I do not talk when students are talking. That means you are distracted. That means somebody else is occupying you. You're not allowed to speak to your neighbor at this stage. This topic here of 28 marks, the examples and the skills are from this book or here, right? Now, obviously, you've got to practice with this. In the time that I have, which is close to about an hour, it's impossible to teach something that takes 3 weeks to teach in just 45 minutes. What I'm doing here is to show you some practice examples. When we meet again here next week, then you're going to try them, and then you can ask me some questions so that you get prepared for the 10th of June. So that's what's nice about it. It's a collection of all the papers. So what Mr. Boucher is going to do, or Chris is going to do an example from that. But what is important to know is that when you take, and this is important, when you want to study any topic, you'll notice that for sequences, it's going to be quadratic sequences. It's going to be, of course, you've got grade 11 linear sequence, and that linear sequence is the same as arithmetic sequence. Right? Now, the examination paper, or forget about, so when I say examination paper, I mean the work to be covered for that. I'm not telling you what you're going to get in the exam. Let's make that clear. Right? Quadratic sequence is grade 11 work. You ought to know that. And then, of course, you get your geometric sequence. Now, when you're learning maths, this is what you must do. You must draw a mind map for that topic. I don't have the time for that today. So you take that. Chris is listening to me. Saroj, you're also listening to me. Take each topic and draw a spider diagram. When you get these 13 examination papers, draw quadratic sequence. The famous questions are, and without even telling you what the examination paper is, and I don't like to mention that too loudly, basically, when you got quadratic sequences, the first one is to find the next two terms. Then you are asked to find the nth term of the quadratic sequence. And then you can be asked, which term of the sequence is that? Have you seen these questions before? Yes. And you know what? Nothing has changed. The skills are the same. Skills meaning what concepts will be tested. These concepts will always be there. The numbers will change. So a good math student knows, hey, listen, I need to know how do I find the nth term. That will always be in an examination paper. Find the next two terms. Of course, when you're working with quadratic sequence, you've got to draw the spider diagram and work out the first and second common difference. I can't, and I will not be able to go in detail with every one of them. What I'm basically doing today is to drawing a mind map, is to make sure that your area of study is known, so that what you can do, because not everybody's challenge is for all of them. Some don't like quadratic, some don't like arithmetic, some don't like geometric. So I'm just flagging what had to be known, and then you just focus on what you need to be doing, right? So now, to go back to what I'm trying to do in the first part of this presentation. So let's recap. Motivation. This subject is easy. Just remember this. And I was speaking to a school this morning, and I said this to them. And maybe you didn't hear this before, but this is very important for you. Let me just say this to you. From the time you were born, from that minute and that day that you were born, biblically, spiritually, God gave you a dream. Were they? I'm glad somebody said amen. Because these are important things. That means what God gave to you has not been duplicated. It's unique to you. In maths, we call that a one-to-one function. Nobody else has. Yeah, I see some of you laughing. That means you do know your work. Right. Functions are one-to-one. Well, I'll give you a test now to see whether you really do your work. All right? So having said that, let me say this about your dream. There's two things about your dream. Nobody has the permission to change your dream without your permission. One. Secondly, your dream has no expiry date. You can start now acting out your dream. Right now. If somebody tried to take it away from you, if it went through the flood and survived that flood, that dream can still continue. Okay, next thing. Let's give yourselves a clap here, guys. Okay. The next thing is finance and growth, and it's in that book there. I think it's the very first subdivision. So that's this one here, okay? There's no need for yellow page and blue page. It's the first page. Okay, are you with me, guys? Right here. Now, as far as the June exam is concerned, and the way we're preparing you, just understand this. The finance and growth, or maths of finance, is a very big section. We actually asked the schools if they didn't teach it in grade 11, if they didn't teach in grade 10, don't worry. But this year, you have to worry a lot because the whole thing is going to be tested. In maths of finance, it's a grade 10 finance, which is basically simple interest, grade 11, simple interest, compound interest, okay, also depreciation, straight line, and diminishing balance method, and grade 12 work, which is annuities. But the way we agreed, just for this examination here, you're only going to be tested on grade 11 work, right, Saroj? You know that. We're not going to test on grade, so that's good news for you. So only up to future, or rather, compound increase you will get. Compound increase, depreciation, and also simple interest. So that makes it a little easy for you, okay? So we'll revise that part with you for your examination on the 10th of June. Okay, so that's 16 marks. Now, there are so many things. I just finished off discussing did a national memo discussion for those who wrote the supplementary exam. Now remember, I'm also making a covenant with you. Nobody in this group I'm preparing for the supplementary exam. Unless you got sick and you couldn't write the final exam. Your final examination timetable is programmed normal. You'll write it this year and you'll get your results at 6th of January. Last year it went to end of January, beginning of February. Okay? So we don't want any one of you. I'm making a covenant with you that you need to make sure that you write one exam and get the best symbol. Okay? You determine what is in that symbol. You can't change your metric certificate. You can change where you live. You can change the coat that you wear. You can change the car that you wear. Once that metric certificate is printed, it stays with you for the rest of your life. Make the best for your math symbol, because the university, and I'm glad there's a university person here, university for places next year. Last year, 1 million students left us, of course, and we had only 600 spaces at university, but only 20% of them passed. So there's a lot of chase for the places. 600 from last year, and another 300,000 this year. Another 1 million students are going out of our system. So make sure that you do well. I'm giving you these facts so that you contextualize and have a mental picture. Functions and graphs is a very popular, you can see this, it goes up to 35 marks, right? Functions. Now in that booklet we have there, now functions. Now the first thing you do is to draw the mind map. If you want to be a good Bible student, first become familiar with the chapters of the books in the Bible. Once you know where the books are, where they are found, Old Testament, New Testament, how many chapters in each one, which is the wrong, then you become closer to understanding the physical and the spiritual dimension of the Bible. Once you know that, then you go deeper into various chapters. So this here on functions, there are different chapters. If I use the analogy or the idea of the Bible, there's different functions we learned. First of all, the straight line. I'm just going to use LSL. Then you learned the quadratic, which most of you have done exceptionally. Every year or every exam paper will have these functions. You'll always be tested. You have no choice about these functions in some way or the other. What we do is, if it's not specifically asked on its own, but it's mixed up with other functions. So you got quadratic functions, you got hyperbolic functions, and then you got in grade 12 cubic functions. Have you started with calculus as yet? Yes. We've got some fantastic stuff here, right? A thick book on calculus. Okay, cubic functions, or for that matter, calculus. Right, so I'm talking about functions, so straight line, quadratic, hyperbola, cubic functions. And of course, don't forget the grade 12 one, which is your inverse functions. Right, I'm glad some of you recognize that. Now, inverse functions have two branches. One is the exponential one, and the other one is the log function. The log function is the inverse, log, L-O-G. Yeah, it's not magic, it's it's the same thing. If you, he's a good boy, he's a nice boy. What's your name, son? All right. Okay, well, welcome. This is a magic pen, whatever you say is there. Yeah, good. The inverse of the log function is the exponential function. Okay, guys? Now, all of these things here, these feet of the spider, or for the mind map, learn them you're going to get a question. All of those things will be asked in the exam. Some of them will be asked independently. Cubic functions and calculus, you either, or by the way, as a general pattern, you either will be asked to draw these functions, or, given the function, ask some questions. Now that's two types of functions. Now the sketching of the functions is easy, but because we know that you only have 3 hours to write this exam, we can't ask you to draw all the functions. Some we'll draw, and some it will be given to you. The interpretation questions are the questions where the graph is given and we ask you questions on that. Some students don't like that because we really mess up your happiness with the questions. Okay? So, but be prepared for two types of questions. The first one is, do I know how to draw the straight line graph? Do I know how to draw the quadratic graph? What are the main skills that are needed? X-intercept, Y-intercept, and so on. Okay? And when we do these things here, I get passionate, I get carried away, but I want to make sure that this is covered, and then I'm going to ask Chris to do 1 or 2 problems. He's got some magic stuff. If you think that this is magic here, wait till you see what he's going to do. Okay? Yeah. Yeah, in some countries they call it mathemagic. That's for problem solving, right? For Maths Olympiad. The fourth category, right, so we got algebra, patterns, finance, functions and graphs, and differential calculus. Differential calculus is on its own, right? I'm trying to use a small table. Differential calculus, what are the different questions you can get on differential calculus? Who can tell me what's the first thing that you must know to do in find the we know the derivative. Who said that first? Well done. Let's give it a clap there, guys. Right, so it's first principles. Now, let me say this to you. If you understand, whether you like it or not, in every calculus exam, you must get first principles. So I can't understand why when I go to the marking center, not only in our province, I go to all parts of the province, you get batches with zeros. It's either the child didn't go to school, or has forgotten that first principles, and again, it's going to be 5 or 6 marks, guaranteed. All that will change is the type of question. Okay? Who can tell me what's the next thing that you can get? I want to also see where you are, so it helps me. After you do first principles, what's the next thing? I think next week I need to buy some chocolates here. Second principles. You heard that, Chris? I am not going to say second, I'm not going to say whether it's right or wrong. I mean, that is guessing. That means you don't understand. I'm not going to ask who's your teacher here. Right, but the second is using the rules. The rules. Okay? Remember that when you're using the rules, what's the rules? That the derivative of x to the n is equal to what? Nx to the n. You see, there's some of you. What we're going to do here, at some stage I'll give a test, and then we'll mix you up in terms of those who are getting 60 and 70. Saroj, I need a list of the marks here. So we'll put people in various groups so you can help each other. You're not going to be able to sit like this for the rest of this program. At some stage, you need to do the work in the class, okay? Otherwise, you're just going to have a lecture and you can just watch this at home. Okay, so using the rules. Together with the rules is the aspect of average gradient. Who can tell me what the formula is for average gradient? What did you say? Stand up and tell us loudly. Y2 minus Y1? Yeah, but that is a gradient, ordinary gradient in coordinate geometry. Yes. So the average gradient formula is f of x2 minus f of x1, all divided by what? x2 minus x1. Okay. So listen. So there's three things I mentioned so far about calculus. Most students score high marks in calculus because it's fun, it's easy to understand, right? First principles, average gradient, and using the rules. Who can tell me what's the next thing you need to know? There's no right and wrong answers in maths. A try is worth a lot of marks. Anybody wants to guess? What other thing that... Look, nobody's going to chase you from here. You'll be asked to come back. Try. What's the next thing that you think you learned in calculus? Okay, I can tell you. It's the equation of tangents. Right? So, forgive me, the table is shaking. And after you find the equation of tangent, is to draw what? The cubic graph. That is a lot of marks. You get up to 17 marks for the cubic graph. What's the last thing in calculus? Talk loudly. It's maxima and minima, right? In other words, that's areas and volumes. All of these things will be covered in the exam. Now, obviously, I'd like to spend 2 or 3 hours on all of this, but I don't have that luxury of time. For today, I want to just shed the light on the journey and what we have to do. And the material is in your hands today. So these words that I've mentioned, right, you must remember them. And then when you're doing the questions this afternoon or this evening, and please, if you are not doing well, you must do a minimum of 2 hours per day in mathematics. You can't do anything. There are some subjects you'll have to do maybe once in 3 days. I mean, LO you can do once a week. You can leave it out. LO means leave it out. Okay. So, I'm only joking about that, right? Okay, so you're not going to... So your maths, how many of you do physics here? Let me see hands. Okay, that's almost all of you. Okay, so now so your maths and physics and your languages, which is especially English, those are important. At UCT, I'm on the board there. We look at your maths symbol and your English symbol, those two. If you do well in those two, then we give you a place in actual science or business studies or business science or whatever. Okay. So that is the scope of your examination paper for June. And you needed to know that. All right? And I gave you a copy of that. So that's paper. Today, I'm going to focus on paper 1. When we come here next week, then I'm going to do the same thing with paper 2. By that time, I'll be more organized in terms of doing, now that I've given you a mind map. Of course, you also got here what you're going to be tested in paper 2. Only 3 things: analytical geometry, trigonometry, Euclidean geometry. I know you love those topics, right? Yeah, well, it's... Okay, geometry is the reason why we teach maths. Right, it might take you around in circles, but it's very good. Okay? So for paper 2, we're not going to test on, that is statistics, regression analysis, or line of best fit. We're only going to give those 3 topics, and that's 150 marks. Okay? But it's not a difficult topic. That normally we leave for the 3rd term, so that's your spread of your examination paper. Now that you've got an idea, plan, use this material, and work in that direction. Anybody's got any question to ask? You don't ask me a question what's in the exam. That's not important for now. Second derivative. That is to find the point of inflection, son. Right. But we're just talking about general now. Okay, but I'm glad you asked that. Anybody wants to ask, don't be afraid. Okay? I'll try to answer the questions the best that I can, but I want you to... How many of you found that information helpful? Let me see your hands, please. Did you find this information helpful? Okay, now that's important. Okay? Now, You must be supportive, otherwise if you stay quiet, then I don't know where you're raising. Okay, so we've gone already 40 minutes, and what are we going to do? We're going to spend some time now on specific questions, and I'm going to ask Chris to come forward and do some of the electronic work. You ready for that, Chris? Okay, come through. Now, what he's going to do, some of the things that I mentioned, are you listening? He's now going to do problems. In other words, if I said first principles, he says, remember Daniel said first principles? He's going to do a problem. But more than that, you are privileged. We're launching a program and material. This is the first time I'm using it in all my years of teaching here at the moment. So you're the first one to get this, okay? So let's put our hands together for Chris.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, it's a real pleasure to be here among students that have given up a Friday afternoon. Instead of going and doing what you normally want to do at the beginning of a weekend, you've come to do maths stuff. Congratulations, well done, guys. It's everything you do, if it earns you more security of getting more marks, secures a section for your exam, it's worth it. And congratulations on making that choice to be here. The purpose of me being here today is to share some encouragement to you guys, to give some real help with getting exam readiness, and to share a resource with you that I believe will be able to help in many different ways. So guys, just an outline of what I want to share today. I would like to give you just a little bit of my teaching background so you know who's talking to you. I'd like to just talk to you about a few key problems that I've found with learners getting ready for their exams. I'm not going to spend much time on that. I'd like to share with you what I believe a source of help with that could be, and to give you that resource that you can take home with you, and give you some ideas of how you could share it and use it going forward as something that could really help you feel much more ready for your exams. Okay, so just very briefly about my teaching background. When I was at high school, born in the Durban area, born and raised in the Durban area, went through high school. I have to say, not putting a huge amount of conscious effort in, lacking that motivation and organized structure around me, I didn't perform what I could have. And it's part of the reason why I'm here today, because I realized what I could have performed at school, what I could have done, and missed that opportunity. I want to help provide that for other learners. I'll share a bit more about that, and there's a reason for why I would share it. I maybe took the not such great advice in terms of what I studied. I wanted to study maths. That was my first love. I wanted to study that, but I was persuaded to do a business degree. So Mr. Krupanandan Dr. Krupanandan spoke about your dream, and no one's got permission to change that. I made a deal, a bargain. I thought, it's better to do a business degree. I should have just stuck with my first love, because that's where I've ended up anyway. But I found my way back into teaching. I learned and taught at the same time at Northwood. I then went overseas and taught in the UK for about 8 years, and I'm back in South Africa now, teaching at a place called Live Village, which is a non-government organization, looks after orphaned and vulnerable children. And I've been teaching core maths there for about the last 7 years, but now I'm giving more general help to the organization. And one encouraging thing I can say, guys, teaching in the UK, I can tell you that the standards and the expectations on your maths performance are high. When I've had other teachers come from the UK and spend time in the classrooms here, and they see what the grade 10s have to write at their age, what grade 11s and 12s are expected to know, the standards are high, yes? And when you get that Matric math certificate, you've got something meaningful. And just want to encourage you with that, guys. You're not aiming for a small goal, okay? The standards are high, and well done for all the progress that you're making. So that's my teaching background. And I just want to tell last story I just want to tell about my high school and a little bit of outside of school. You might ask, well, you know, what's my background? Am I a maths genius? My answer is no. But I noticed that for some tests in high school, I scored 100%. And they weren't easy tests, they were tough tests. And I scored 100% for those tests. And then a week later, I got 40% and then failed others. At the end of my Matric year, I only got somewhere in the 60s, for maths. Why 100% sometimes and lower marks for others? Then outside of school, picking up maths courses that I wanted to do, I am convinced I should have got 100% for a university level exam that I was studying, but I got 92%. And part of the paper, I had to write on an extra piece of paper and slide it in, and that part was worth 8% of the paper. So I keep telling myself that's the reason. But why? Why am I telling a story? And it's not because I'm naturally gifted or good at mathematics. I love it. I like it. But the times that I did well is I had organized help. I had made a personal decision and committed to a plan of study, and the resources that I needed were readily available. Okay, and that's why I did better in those situations. It wasn't many other things. I'm telling you, it wasn't a natural ability. I enjoy the subject, and when I enjoyed the subject, when I had the help I needed, the performance was there. When it wasn't there, and I wasn't self-disciplined, I failed. It wasn't a natural ability. I couldn't do it without the studying and without the help. Okay, so that's my encouragement to you guys. When you have the resources and you have your organized help, you have to make use of it. You can't just rely on just a natural, not very few of us can rely on just a natural ability to make it through. Okay, so what are some of the key problems that I've noticed as a teacher in learning mathematics and in exam preparation? This is not a list of all the problems. These are some of the problems that I've noticed and I want to help with. Okay, how many of you are here purely because you love mathematics? Honest answer, please. Put your hand up. It's the only, well, that's excellent. The only reason here is you love mathematics. Another way of putting that question, if you didn't have your June exam coming up or you weren't going to get maths exams, would you have come on a Friday afternoon just to do maths? Those that answer, yes, I like maths and I would have taken part in that is excellent. For many people, no, okay, it's not the enjoyment or the beauty of the subject, it's the pressure we need to achieve. Okay, we have the pressure of exams and it takes away, we want to forget the beauty of the subject to just make sure we get our marks for the exam. And we need exams. We need to know how well we're progressing and we need benchmarks. But they can take away from the beauty of the subject. Then that turns to feeling of being left behind. And then we think, well, it's too much to catch up and you feel overwhelmed. It makes us not want to even try. Then when we want to get help, we find trying to get the help is disorganized. We look at our maths notes over the years, oh, where do I start? Like my book's a mess, I can't find my notes. We look on, if we get an opportunity to get a computer, you look on YouTube, but you don't know which video is the right one to watch. Who should I ask for help? It's disorganized. Or it costs something. It's costly to pay a tutor. It costs money. It costs money to go and buy another textbook or sign up for some online learning program. It costs a lot of money. Or it's inaccessible in some way. After some point, your teachers that are very committed to you, many times they won't be available right before the exam. They won't be available for a certain amount of time. So there's inaccessible help. Okay? And this is something which I want to share, guys. There's imbalanced preparation. I bet you that in that week before your final exam, you'll probably have paper 1 on a Friday, paper 2 on a Monday. You might have 7 days free without any other exams. Now, you got 7 days free, but paper 1's first. What are you going to do? I bet you'll spend 6 days preparing for paper 1 and try and cram in paper 2 on the last few days. Isn't that what happens? And then paper 2 results are terrible. Guys, you have got to be disciplined and split your paper 1 and paper 2 preparation. Make sure you're getting there. And there's something interesting I could show you that verifies that. So guys, we need balanced preparation. How do you know when you've done enough? Okay, wouldn't it be great to arrive at your exam knowing you have done enough, and that will give you the peace of mind. It won't flood your brain full of stress hormones and you can think clearly. Wouldn't you like to know that you've done enough that you can get a good night's rest before your final exam? And when you know you've done enough, you can relax in that area. Now, there are more problems. There could be troubles at home. There could be other learning barriers. There are many problems that might make these look small, but these are real problems, I believe. And what I would like to play a part in, and you guys get to play a part in, is to be a part of the solution. Yeah. Because what I've done is I've started to develop a website that works in conjunction with printed paper resources that can help organize your practice and your revision. It's called mrborchesmaths.co.za. I couldn't think of a better name, okay, because I like maths and my name's Mr. Borches, so let's just do that. Okay, but there we have it. And I want to show you how you can access that. We will try a few problems. As Mr. Krubenan said, we'll select some problems that we can do together, have a go at, And then we'll see how this website could help us. Okay. So, I believe one of the key things to getting better prepared is setting up cycles of success. Sometimes we can find ourselves trapped in really bad cycles of failure. For example, missing a topic of work, lack of time to catch up, anxiety that we can't catch up. Anxiety makes us not even want to try. We miss more work. We go around in a bad circle. So, guys, what is a good cycle of success? I believe you choose a topic with guidance of your teachers to revise. You attempt exam questions and you get feedback. You can't just do exam questions without feedback. You reinforce what you have learnt, try again, and once you've done that, once you've reinforced what you've learnt and been through that, we can move on with confidence. And what I want to share with you today may help us do that. Okay, so in order to do that properly, I would like you each to have a booklet with you. Can I hand these out? Okay, so maybe, could I have, I think the best might be the algebra. We'll start with that one. Just one booklet each. While these are being handed out, if you have, or anyone in your group, if you have a mobile phone with you, it can be very helpful for the next section. So you guys, you can take it out and have it switched on if you have a phone with you. Can I see just where the people with phones are? Does anyone have a phone here? A mobile phone? A phone, yeah, a mobile phone with you. Okay. If you do, for example, if there's one person with a mobile phone in a row, perhaps you could sit in the middle of a row. Or if there are two people, maybe you could just shift places so we can all get access to that. Because that will be part of being able to get the help. Okay, have we each got one of those booklets? Yeah. One of the problems that I described was that the help that we want to get can be disorganized. It's hard to find the exact help you need with the topic that you need. So one attempt to help solve that is to produce booklets that have categorized all of the exam questions into single topics. So you're looking at an exam booklet filled with the last 13 papers worth of algebra equations and inequalities questions. Usually question one, well, always question one of paper one. It's one of those sections where we want to bank as many marks as possible. And we'd like to know, when have we got that section down? When have we got it taped so we can move on? So you have in front of you a booklet full of algebra questions. There are other topics. For example, at the moment there's another booklet filled with all of your calculus questions, and the calculus questions as well inside divided into 3 topics, into your first principles and power rule, the cubic functions, and application questions. So what it should help you do is to pinpoint the areas that you need to work on, and you can ask what those questions are with guidance from your teacher. Get guidance from your teachers and tutors and figure out what is the section that is best for you to start with and focus on those questions. Okay. So that first stage of setting up a cycle of success, choosing a topic with guidance from your teacher, start with a topic, pick a booklet of exam questions that's right for you, that you start working on those. Okay. So we have our booklet. You can all see that clearly enough, I hope. All right. Now, if you have this document on paper, that's great. You can use that document on paper. If you have it saved on a tablet, on a mobile phone, on a friend's phone, a parent's phone, a neighbor's phone, anyone that has a phone, you can access this document, and I'll show you how to do that. But on your contents page, you have a list of exam questions. And we can start from the first one. You could pick an exam question and have a go. There it is. This is from 2021. We could have a go at that exam question from beginning to end and try it. Do the absolute best that we can with that question. Now, what you've done, you've been through those first two stages. You've selected a topic. You've made an attempt at some exam questions. Now it comes time for the feedback. You want to get feedback on this. Now, the best feedback you can do is to take that piece of paper you've worked on back to your teacher and ask them to mark it. Say, sir, ma'am, have I done the right thing here? I just want to check if I'm on the right track. And hopefully they will have the time to just whip out their red pen, quickly mark it, and actually show you what you've got for that question. But that might not be accessible at the time. Yes. If you have this document on a tablet or a smartphone, even a laptop, you will see at the bottom of your question it says scan this code or click here. Okay, so if you were to click that link, having it on your laptop, you'll be taken to a web page that has exactly the same question. Okay, exactly the same question for you with a YouTube video solution to that question. Okay, and then you can play it right from the web page on your phone. You can get an idea. Okay, now this particular video, we have to understand I'll explain more about the video. Okay, more importantly, actually more important than the video, down we have the memorandum broken up into each sub-question. Okay, so let's say you've done question 1.1, but you haven't done 1.1.2 yet. You don't want to see the answer before you've actually even tried it. You can display just the answer for 1.1.1, right? And then we can hide it. Okay, now on a mobile phone, it should look, let's get to that same question. This is how it would look on a mobile phone. Okay, just get to that same web page quick. Okay, so on a mobile phone, you'd get the same thing. Your exam question, you would have your video solution, which you can watch, and then you have your memorandum for each different sub-question that you can look up. Now, I know we've all got different access to technology, but I'm sure someone in your house might have a phone, a neighbor, an uncle, a friend, someone who could help you out for that moment, okay? If your school has some computers that you can get access to, hopefully that's where you could get it. But guys, remember, so there's just, what this is wanting to do is to provide multiple ways of getting feedback on your question. Okay. Now you've gotten the feedback. Okay, you've checked your answer. Now there's another very important stage, is now to reinforce what you've learned. How have you done? If you've done that whole question, all right, you've done that whole question, then we need to evaluate how are you doing. Reinforce what you've learned. How do you know you've done enough? Okay, how do you know you've done enough? When can I move on, start practicing another topic, and feel relaxed on this one? Yeah, as you'll notice, just after your contents page, there is a grid, and it's got all the different question numbers that you could write that are in this worksheet. And can we see on the left here, it says attempts. First attempt, second attempt, third attempt. Okay. Let's say for that first attempt. Yeah. Okay, let's say for that first attempt, you would just write this in there by hand. That first attempt you got, it was 24, you got 12. Let's say you got 12 out of 24. What's that? That is a percentage 50. Come on, why is it not writing in for me? Okay, you got 50. Now there you will have in your worksheet a record of how you are doing. You see that, right? You did that algebra question, you got 12 out of 24, that means 50%. That's not yet secure enough for you to leave that and move on. It's not yet. Question one, I am sure everyone in this room for question one should be getting closer to 75 to 80. In question one, there's the very predictable questions and then the curveball they throw at the end, most times. Have you seen that? You can look in almost every, and that's another thing about this. You can see the trends in each topic. Look, in almost every question, there's some very predictable questions up until the simultaneous equations. And then after the simultaneous equations, that's where they get the question that you probably haven't seen before. Right? So you need to be making sure that you're getting all of those questions right up until that difficult one. Then don't stress about that difficult one at the end yet. That one comes after you've banked all of your achievable marks, all of the ones that you can get, and as easily as snapping your finger. Once you've gotten to that point that you can get all of those marks for the others, then you think, okay, let me have a go at that tougher one. Let me see how far I can get. Maybe I can just add those extra few marks. Or possibly, once you've gotten to that point, move to a different topic. Get all the bankable marks in a different topic. So let's say you've done this one, 12 out of 24. You get 50%. Your teacher marks it for you, or you check the answers from the web page. You write in there 12. You know that's 50%. That's not good enough. You try it again, and maybe this time you get 18. Okay. And 18, okay, there we know that we hit 75. I chose the one with 24 because it's easy percentages and I don't want to get caught out in front of everyone. Okay, so we're at 75. Okay, so now we're getting closer. Yes, then once you've got to that point, okay, once you've got to that point, maybe you could take a green highlighter. Okay, you could take a green highlighter and you could highlight there. There we go. 75%. And guys, you know what? Once you've done a question and now you know the answers, there's nothing wrong with repeating that question again and again. It is good. Okay, it builds confidence and gets you in the habit of writing correct things down. So we build up to that stage. We've got 18, 75. Maybe try and get even higher. Then we could, once you see you've had question after question after question, getting close to 80%, then we can highlight that green. And do you have time to do every question that was ever written? No. You don't have time to do them all. But we can keep going until we've hit the right percentage, your target percentage for that question. Okay. Just some other functionality you'll notice on the worksheet. Okay. You'll notice there's a little QR code on that question. If you've got a mobile phone, almost all mobile phones this day can do that. If you scroll down the front, and you'll see there's something that says scan a code. If you scan that with your phone, it'll automatically take you to the relevant web page from that question that will show you the answer. Okay, so we will try this, because we can try a question, and we can try with those in our groups to see if we can access and get some feedback. We'll try that in a minute. But also, guys, one thing I just wanted to say, so it was, okay, guys, I want to extend an invitation to you guys to be a part of the solution. You will see that as you use this, it is a work in progress. All right. I want more exam papers to be added. The videos that are added, not every web page has a video added to it. All of those videos currently come from me searching through YouTube and trying to find the right video for the right question. And it takes quite a while to find a video. It's not something you want to be stressed about in the day before an exam. But those videos that are there are just coming straight, from you. Not every web page has a video. Yes, you can give feedback. As you're using these booklets, if you think, hey, this would be a cool idea, I wish they had maybe a few more notes, or I wish when I scan the web page and it goes there, I wish it could give me some other type of information. There could be things that you as a learner are experiencing that if you could feed back to me, we could try and add it to this resource and make it even better. And you'll find on the front page, on the contents page, there is details with which you can get in contact, and on the web page as well. Okay, there are contact details where you can give feedback on, how could it be changed to make it better? Right. Could I ask, guys, is having the booklets with different exam questions organized per topic, is that something that could be helpful to you guys? Okay, excellent. Okay. Now, I'm always concerned about, well, okay, we've got this website, but the reason for building this is so that all South African students can get something free of charge. But I know that there are some barriers to even getting access to that. Could I see who believes that when you're outside of school, you could get access to the electronic resources? You can get access to the web page. Could I see by show of hands who feels that, yes, I could get hold of the pages on the website. I've got a way of doing that. Could I see by show of hands? Okay. So, okay, it's interesting for me to know. Okay, so it's other. Then we've got to think, well, how could we increase that access? Would it be creating weekend workshops, venues where people could come and get access to that? So this is why, it's just interesting for me to know. Do we have any questions about this? Has the way that this can be used, has it made sense? Are there anything that you're not sure about of the process of how this resource could be used? Okay. As I said, if there are questions, I know sometimes not always, people don't always leap to ask a question straight away, but if there are, I really would love to know them. Yes?
Maybe just ask a question. How many of you think that this is an idea you'd like to try? It's a one-stop shop. You've got the question there. You've got many attempts when you evaluate your progress. How many say, I think I can try this? Can I see your hands, please? So, cell phone you can use, or laptop you can use. All that you need to get is access to some data, and that can be done. Okay, guys, are you with me? Yes. Now, the advantage of this, and I'm talking with this, is that you can be in your home. You don't have to be after school hours till late at night. In other words, you can use your time interactively. Right, Chris? That's the old YouTube.
Yeah.
In other words, you don't have to wait to go to school the following day. You can get your answer immediately. You can watch that video, and you can be taught and self-taught. Once you get this culture of learning, you'll find that you'll race with your studies. All right? Thanks, Kiz. That was good.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. That's a wrap from me in terms of presenting the resource.
So, do one or two questions for me?
Sure. Yeah. Is a particular topic or one of these? Should we try it? Yeah.
From algebra.
Yeah.
Let them try the question.
Absolutely.
Let's see how many of them can do. Because we want to get
Great. Okay, guys, let's try this now. Okay, what we will do is we want to go through the process, okay? Choosing the topic, we've got algebra. Pick any question of that algebra paper you would like, and what we'll do, we'll try and get to the point where we can mark it together on the screen if you haven't got a phone in front of you. If you have got a phone or some device that you can scan with, please, once you've attempted the question, scan it and try and mark it yourself according to the memo that you find. If you're having trouble, if you've got your phone but you're not sure how to use your phone to actually scan the code, please let me know. I'll come and see if I can lend a hand. Okay. How long should we give? About 10 minutes to try and have a go, or 15? Okay. Sure. Okay. Sure. Okay, guys, how about we try this? The very first question of the paper. The 2021 November paper 1, question 1. There's 1.1.1. Let's try and solve that, and we'll mark it and see how we've done. For those that finish quick, you can also try 1.1.2 or move on, and we'll see how we can mark that. We'll give you a few minutes, just so that we can each make some progress, and then we'll mark the questions that we've managed to complete in that time.
All right? You must make sure that for this question in the exam paper, you must get that 25 marks. So what Chris is doing here is making sure that you get that 25. If you fail in question 1, that means you need to work very hard. Go through, Chris. Go to the first one.
Right, guys. Hopefully we have finished 1.1.1. If you had some delays trying to find your equipment, you might have found yourself a bit short of time. But just my fellow maths colleagues, I think sometimes it's important to give a guidance on how much time should be spent. How would you say learners should guide how much time they spend on each exam question?
You mean some question?
Or even like a question as a whole, say like a 24 mark.
Well, the way to do that is to take your exam paper, which is 150 marks, and looking at 180 minutes. So in other words, basically you're looking at just about a minute each for each mark. But it can't be, I hope all of you are paying attention here, right? So the first part, Chris, first question, because it's the easy one, it'll be less time for marks because the questions are easy. But as you get into calculus and my questions towards the end of the paper, probability and so on, you'll need more marks. So at the beginning of the paper, if you divide it into quarters, the first 25% of that must be done in less than 1/4 of the time. And then you'll find that you'll have more time at the end to do the more difficult questions. All right, thank you.
Okay, yes, let's mark what we've done. So I would love those who have phones here to try and access the answer by scanning the code of the question. So no matter where we are with our working, if you have a phone with you, can you try and scan that code there? How you can normally find the scanner is if you drag your finger down from the top of the page, and you'll have all your settings showing, and there should be a scanner on that. It should say scanner code. But if not, if you're not sure how to access that, I just want to show you how to look up a particular question. First of all, on the website, you can choose your topic. So we're in equations and inequalities. Okay. Once having selected your topic, you will see a list. Oh, and this very same booklet is downloadable from the website as well. So if you lose your copy, you can download another from the website. And then we see a list of questions which are labeled with their date and question number. So we've chosen the 2021 November paper 1, question 1. So that's the one we'll click and we'll be taken there. Yeah, so we're going to go straight to the memorandum. I would like you to mark your work and then see how you've done for those first few questions. Here's 1.1.1. How did we do? Okay, can you see where your marks come from? Okay. Now, yes, when you look at videos, some of them might advocate, which is not really the best thing, is to use the quadratic formula for 1.1.1. Okay, use this method that has been shown to you here, not that. Okay, for those, could I see who managed to get onto 1.1.2? Okay, let's have a look. How did we go there? All right. So what would happen is you would follow this process with all of the questions that you've done in question 1. And then guys, what do we do after that? Once you've fully marked your question, what is the next stage? Where do you record that mark? Yes, there's a grid. Just after the contents page, there's a grid. It's called the progress tracker. Yeah, you would take the total mark that you've got, you can finish it at home, the total mark you've got, and write it down there. Convert it to a percentage so it's easy to compare between that and other questions. As in, I believe following this process of choosing a topic, picking exam questions, attempting them, getting feedback, and then finding out where your mistakes were and trying again until your mark improves, attempt after attempt, I believe it will give a lot more confidence that you know enough from each section, and that it'll just give you a bit of peace of mind before an exam, so you can actually go and do your best. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Let's give Chris a clap there. Now, I want to say this to you, right? This presentation on the use of this material, I want you to listen now, is the first time that's being used in one of my classrooms. And it's brilliant stuff. Now, when I saw this first time in my resource kit, and it came to me, I said, this is brilliant work. The advantage of this type of learning is that it's independent study, and also try to avoid studying in groups too much. Because what happens is that only the guy who knows the work dominates the discussion, and with the result, you don't learn much. But with this stuff, the only thing you need to get is data, and you know what, there are many ways of getting data very cheaply. Or, if you want to get to a school, or if we find that you want to use this facility, we can do that on weekends and so on. So if you show interest, and you want to make sure that you use your time profitably, then we can make opportunities for you to go to a school, or even come here. Ralph, Pastor Ralph, we can make that. He's saying thumbs up. But we're going to see, if you are serious, and I'm excited that we're doing this in May, if from now to end of the year, we can get this done in this way. Now, we can't do everything in this one session. Well, what we're doing here is just opening doors for you and opportunities. So this session is opportunities. You've got fantastic opportunities here. I only wish I had that when I was at school. And if people watching this program here would say, wow, I need to get this stuff here. There'll be people sitting in rural areas or outside of town, staying else out of their homes for the weekend, say, if I get this stuff here, I'm sorted. Answers, checking, tracking my results, making sure, and what Chris has done with this program, the software, you can do it a few times, and by the time you achieve 100%. So practice makes perfect, okay? So thank you, Chris, for that, and he'll come again and do other things. But now what I'm going to do, we just have about 20 minutes. I'm just going to have some fun doing some work. All right? Yes. You want to come and do some work? Okay. So let's have some fun. If I can just put my machine on here for a moment. Okay? And what he's done there is really stimulate your thinking in terms of the work. So let's just do this. Okay. Right, so we're going to take an ordinary page, and yeah, what I'm going to write here is going to be there. All right? All right, so now, this paper, this examination paper was written 2 weeks ago. Right? Those people who didn't pass last year, those who had COVID and were at home, they applied for a supplementary examination. That exam paper was written 2 weeks ago. And I'm going to do 1 or 2 questions from here because you have not seen this as yet. It's just out. Okay, so I'm going to just take 1 or 2 questions. And Chris, you need to include this into your bank because the pattern. Now, if I look at the first question, again, every exam paper will have solve for X. Even this year's final paper will say solve for X. So I'm telling you what's in the final paper. Okay? No. So how can you get 0? That means you purposely didn't want to get that. And the question will say that. And then the second one, when they say correct to do decimal places, that's a hint to use the quadratic formula. And where is the quadratic formula? So if you got the answer, why are you looking out? Why people get it wrong? They can't. Okay? Now, obviously, you've got to use a calculator. The third one, this inequality is interesting. Basically, you've got to use a table or you can't cross-multiply because that seriously is a criminal offense to cross-multiply against an inequality sign. So what that means, you got minus 3x is less than or equal to 0, and that there is x into x minus 3 is less than. I'll tell you, this means you've got to use a graph or some beautiful idea on solving that. So basically you find the roots, the critical values, that's 0 and 3. So you've got a beautiful quadratic. The coefficient of x squared is positive. So this here is 0, that there is 3. For what part of this graph is it below the x-axis? Less than 0 means below. Greater than 0 means above. When you're a positive person, you look up. When you're a negative person, you look down. So they're asking when is it negative. So look down. What's the answer here? X is between 3 and 0. Full marks, 3. Okay? So that is really something there now. I want you to try 1.3. Can you just try that? Now listen, the best learning starts, if you're a student who wants to master maths, the best learning, listen, you got to listen certain things now, is the first attempt. You can get it totally wrong, 0, but that can be your best learning experience. So take a chance with that. And we want to do this question. This was given 2 weeks ago, and we want to see how do you manipulate a question like that. Okay. Don't let the square root intimidate you. First work with the part inside or underneath the same. It's normally called the argument. Now, listen. Whenever you see indices, right? Whenever you see indices, it means use the index laws. Okay? And the word there is without using calculator, which means that you're going to use algebra, problem solving. You will always get a question on problem solving. Now, if you look at this, so Daniel says, work with the part underneath that is inside there. Now, if you look very carefully there, you got now, you know what's the trick in this problem? Anybody can tell me? You don't know the trick. Relax. Yes? Sorry? Yeah, there's a 2 everywhere, son. Yeah, there's a 2 in the denominator, okay? What about it? Yeah, now you can't, you see, if it's one term, if it was an equation, you can square both sides. But here, it's all one term. So you have to work independently. It's like in a flat, the ground floor and the other one. Let me just tell you, when there's one term, the golden rule is to split and take out common factor. That's a rule. Okay? Now, the other trick is this, and I'm telling you the secret. The lowest power here is what? What's the lowest power of these things? So take that out as a common factor. That grade 8 students can do. You are better than them, you are grade 12. Okay? So what you're going to do with this question, I'm just going to do the first line because we want to go and do other things as well. So I'm circling that, I'm circling that, and I'm circling that. And like this gentleman said here, 2 is common. So that's 2 to the 998. Right? Because that is the lowest power. Now, if you take 2002 and minus 998, what's the answer there, guys? 2 to the 4. Because 4 and 998 will give you what? 202. Now, what must go here? Now, you got 2 to this 2006. 998 plus what gives you 206? Come on? 8. Right? All divided by what? 17 times 2 to the 998. And what's so sweet about this problem, this will kill that. That's why you took out the common factor. So we are nice people when we set questions. We want to see how good you are in killing numbers. All right? So the top here, listen, so the top is going to be, you got 2 to the 4 plus 2 to the 8, all divided by what? 17. Now, if you want to have more fun with this, you can say that this is 2, you must tell me when I just get excited when I do this, 2 to the 4 into 1 plus 2 to the 4. Agreed? All over 17. And you cancel things out. Don't go and cancel this with that now. That's a serious criminal offense. Right. Now I'm going to go and do something. You must get simultaneous. You can't, I will not be able to do every line. We can put that, Mr. Pastor Ralph, can we, how many of you got cell phones here? How many of you got cell phones here? If you don't have one, please don't go and steal, because then we're going to have a problem. Right, we can form a chat group here, and then we can talk to each other. Whenever you got a problem, and we did a question here, and you say, can I see that full solution? My wife will tell you, whether I'm driving, I just quickly write it in my hand, click, and I send it to the student. So you're on a 911 call. It's free of charge. Okay? I want to go on to the structure of this question. You will get quadratic, you'll get quadratic formula, inequality, you'll get, this is the K method. Please write next to 1.2, the K method. In other words, where something repeats itself. That's question number 1.2. Now you can see I'm going all over the show. And when they use hence, what's the meaning of that? This is a paper they wrote 2 weeks ago. In other words, just 2 days ago, I discussed this question with the country, right? If you don't use the hence and you work on its own, you'll still be right, but you're asking for extra work. The one we did this nice problem solving, 1.4 is simultaneous equations. You must get a simultaneous equations in the exam whether you like it or not. So practice that. Question 2. Question 2 is sequences. Now, I'm not going to waste too much of time on that. The first thing you do in sequences is to establish what type of sequence. Why do you think you need to know what sequence you're working with? Who can tell me? Let me see who's clever here. Right, that group of girls, we need to make sure that you do well because I can see your high flyers here. In order to use the correct formula, you will need to know what kind of sequence it is. Quadratic formula, it's got its own nth term, an squared plus bn plus c. The nth term for a arithmetic sequence is what? Tn is equal to a plus n minus 1 t. What is the nth term for geometric sequence? A r to the n minus 1. If you don't know what sequence you're working with, you wouldn't know what formula to use. Sometimes we mess up your life. We give you a combination sequence. What's the meaning of that? What's the meaning? Pastor Ralph, can we get some chocolates for next week? Small chocolates, right? Sorry, what did you say? No, okay. All right. Now, who can tell me what's a combination sequence? Take a chance. Yes, my dear. All right, that's partly the answer. I mean, you're almost there. You're in the same room, but in a different place. A combination sequence is basically you got an arithmetic and a geometric sequence in the same line. Can I give you an example? Right. So the way I'm going to devise it, you'll be able to see it. If I take the following, 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, and 8. What sequence is that? Why? But if I do this, what's happening now? See, in other words, there are two races here, not Indian, African, whatever now. This is so this here, it's running its own race. That is what? And what about these? That's another sequence, that's a geometric. So if I wanted you to find the sum to 10 terms, what formula am I going to use? Sorry, my dear? Sum to what? Listen, nobody knows you on Facebook, so even if you give the wrong answer. Anybody try. Say, come on, what are you going to do? If I say to you, find the sum to 10 terms, how are you going to do it? Okay, what you have to do is, because you've got a mixed sequence, and you've got a combination sequence, there's going to be what? 5 arithmetic sequence, and 5 what? Geometric sequence. So find the sum of the reds together, then find the sum of the blacks together, and then what you'll do? Add them. So the sum of the arithmetic sequence plus the sum of the geometric will give you the combination sequence. You can give me a clap if you like that. With me, you must ask Dr. Govender. There's no dull moment. You've got to be excited. If you're not excited, you're very close to dying. Okay? All right. Now, that's the question on sequences. Oh, you look like you're already getting tired there. Now, in paper one, we're almost done there, right? In paper one, listen, the other thing I have to mention here, next week I'm going to give you a theory booklet, all the theory you need to know. In paper one, you want to know, sir, what theory can I be asked? In other words, definitions or proof. In paper one, the only theory you need to know is the proof of the nth term for arithmetic sequence and proof of the nth term for geometric sequence. That's the only theory you need to know. You can't be asked anything else. So make sure that you know that in paper one. So in paper one, expect to see a proof. Now, a proof is full marks because you know that you're going to get a proof. Right, I'm not going to take time to do that here because it's found in textbooks, and I'm going to give you a beautiful book which got all the theory, everything you need to know about theory, proofs and the theorems and all. Would you like to see that? Yes. Right. You are getting stuff that people, wish they had. So there's no reason. So you're getting good stuff here today. All right? So that arithmetic, don't forget sigma. Now, I'll ask you a simple question here. If that is 8 and that is 1, and if I say that that is 2 to, let's say, to the r, how many terms will this series have? What's the difference between series and sequence? Series has? Brilliant. Series has plus sign in between. Series has, sequence just has semicolons. How many terms in the series? 8. Okay? And now, how many terms there? Don't take a chance, think about it. 6, 10, 20. It's so easy. Watch here. What's 8 minus 3? Plus 1? Answer is 6. Okay? So there are 6 terms there. Now, I want to go on to functions before I more or less close up. So you're going to get these questions here. Now, for functions, I'm going to, so you got, this is a popular question, right? Right, that is a parabola with a straight line. Okay? Then, now you have to get this question because this is the new work in grade 12. What type of graph is that? Sorry? Log graph. How do you know that it's a log graph? Don't say it looks like a log graph. We know that. Okay? How do you know that this is a log graph? It's an increasing function. But what I like about it, Pastor Ralph, it's a reflection along the line y is equal to x. If you know that, you can't do bad in this section. Whenever you're doing inverse functions, look at that red line. Now, the reason why that is important, because that there is the exponential graph of y is equal to 2, or x, for that matter, in this case here, 2 to the 4, or x to the 4, or for that matter, find the inverse of this equation here, and you get that. So this here is y is equal to log of x to the base 4. Who can tell me how would I find, right? So this here is y is equal to 4 to the x. That's the equation of that graph. What will this value here be? That's perfectly correct. Now, how would you find the value of k? Whenever you're doing functions, substituting a point on the equation is like general practice. So if you got the x value, if you got the y value, you can find the x value. So I've done that. Now I'm not going to do too much of the higher questions there. So parabolas, and this one here. What graph is this? Hyperbola. Even if you can't spell that word, don't worry about it. Okay? So, let me ask you some oral questions. What's the vertical asymptote of that graph? Put your hand up, don't shout out. Yes, son? How did you get that one? Yeah. Give him a clap, guys. Right. So the vertical asymptote is one. What's so nice about the vertical asymptote in relation to the domain of the graph? Come on, I can see you learning here, you're having fun. Anybody? What's so important about the vertical asymptote and the domain of the graph? Sorry? Brilliant. Give him a clap. What is saying that whenever you have the vertical asymptote, the domain will always be real numbers except the vertical. So you'll see x is an element of what? R, but x must not equal to 1. What is the horizontal asymptote? First time you put it on. Don't say 2. The asymptote is an equation. It's not a number. Y is equal to? What will the range be? I see you're learning very fast. This is a high. You're going to do better than my schools in private schools here. The students, Y is an element of R, but Y is not equal to 2. Okay. So we did that. We did parabola, we did straight line, we did inverse functions. And this is another combination. You have a combination of the straight line with that. This is also a decreasing function. There is a booklet over here. Pastor Ralph, did you print that one on easy wins, the last book that I sent for you? Oh yeah, right. Now this here, Chris, this booklet here, in Afrikaans they say, do it belangrik. This thick book here, don't say what, this is maths. Listen here carefully. You know what we did? Chris, you know what we did here? We took all the questions from the 13 exam papers. I started setting the first maths paper in 2008. We took all those exam papers and we chose only those questions that will secure your 50%. In other words, these are the bread and butter questions. That's why it's called collect. How can I collect some marks? I'm writing maths. Don't worry about the last part, 3D and probability and all the maths of finance and so on. Do this booklet here. You cannot get less than 50%. So, and what's nice about it, Ralph, I can take this off, right? We're going to make copies of this, and I think what's nice about this is this. Look at the following. You're going to get amazed when you see this book, right? Saroj, I don't know whether you got this already, but I'll send it to you. Right? In algebra, notes. Right? What's nice? And it gives the example, the different kinds of examples you get, and how to do it. Right? Solve for x by quadratic formula, different examples, how to do it. And like that, and there's a question of inequalities, examples. See, in other words, the entire quadratic sequence, and you can go to there's a parabola question. It actually teaches you, Mr. Boucher's work is you reading and assessing. This one is teaching. So the book, the entire exam, all the topics are done in this way. Okay? So you can take any topic, whether it's cubic function, what are the different things you have to do in drawing it? Would you like a copy of this? Yes. If you are nice with Pastor Ralph, he'll do it for you. Right, so you've got to be good with him. So that book is called, as the cover says, now I managed to get this. I got this for grade 10, 11, and 12. We do this. It's done by an educational trust, but they've given it to me, and you can have it. So in other words, you can work. There is no reason anybody in this class can get less than. I will know when I come to your school and I take your mark book out from the teacher, Ms. Saroj, I want to see nobody getting less than 50%. If you are, then we're going to give you detention. Okay, so you got all the stuff here. Now, I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to ask for evaluation. Did you find this remember, don't judge us by today, because basically it was just started a program. And you can see, if you look at what Chris has opened for you, there are people who would pay anything to get his stuff. It's not available. Especially the people who have the money, they'll buy that stuff. because they don't want to send the COVID or whatever, don't go for tuition classes, it's all available. You're getting it free of charge. Okay? You're getting all of this material printed. That book, you don't need to look at anything else. All that material in that book is what I use, what children are using in this country to get distinctions. You got this collectibles. So it's all at your fingertips. You don't need to find anything else. In fact, I can give you more stuff. My house is, if you ask Dr. Governor, my wife, she always says, when I retire, she's going to take the 3 rooms of my house and burn all the stuff. That's how much of material I have. Okay? So I will stop there and ask you, can I get some input from you? How did you feel? Was it helpful to you? And we want to know. Somebody should talk. We can't. Just tell us what you feel in a few words. Just tell us. Be open about it, okay? What do you think? You're benefiting? Should we continue? Yes. No, you can't say yes as a group. You got to. Any Liverpool supporters here? Okay. All right, okay. Anybody wants to make a comment about what you're doing? You think it's a good idea? Pastor Ralph wants to hear, because he's got some nice goodies for you to eat as well. Anybody wants to make a comment? Yes, ma'am. Shh. When a lady is speaking, you must be quiet. Brilliant. Give her a clap, guys. Right. Right. Anybody else wants to make a comment? How about a boy? What about you make your comment? Yeah. Would you email it or WhatsApp it or what? All right. Well, I'm going to call Pastor Ralph to thank you and close for us.
Thank you, students. Thank you, Dr. Phillips, and also Chris for being here today with us. All of you got Chris's website. Okay, it's very important that you visit it and also give him feedback, because he's always developing it. And you can get all the information on your phone as well. So that's excellent. Dr. Daniel, are you going to be here next week? Next week? Same time? Okay, so next week Friday, same time, 3 o'clock. If you are going to be here, Rueda, can you just wave your hand? See that lady there? That's Dr. Rueda Petrus. She's from UKZN. She'll take your name down and she'll make sure that you are registered for next week. Please inform your parents as well as your school if you are going to be here next week, Friday at 3 p.m. Okay, we have a copy of some of the material that Dr. Phillips has been talking about, and I'll get the team to give it to you very quickly before you can leave. As you leave today, there's a snack pack for you. You know what is a snack pack? You only get the snack pack if you give your reg form and your code of conduct form back. So please make sure that you get it ready and give it back. Okay, while you're settling down, just 1 minute. We're very privileged to have Councillor Maslongo here. He's from Ward 59. How many of you know Councillor? No? Some people know him. Together with Councillor Mandla. So thank you for being here, sir. We appreciate you taking the time just to acknowledge the program that we are having and for being here with us. Thank you to Dr. Governor and his wife, and for the teachers, and also Mrs. Phillips for spending time with us this afternoon. Okay, please make sure you get a copy of all the information before you leave. And how many of you are coming back next week? Oh, great stuff. Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to ask you to just close your eyes. I'm going to ask a very special lady to pray for you. This is Mrs. Govender, Rochelle. She's Dr. Govinda's wife, and she's going to pray for you as you leave today, that whatever you learnt, God is going to help you to understand. Thank you, Rochelle.
Father, we just thank you for the students that have come this afternoon. We thank you, Lord, that even as they've come, we thank you for the enthusiasm, God, that they have to learn. And we pray, Father, that even as they continue, Father, to apply the concepts that they have learned, we pray, God, that you will continue to multiply their brain cells. We thank you, God, that they will be raised 10 times wiser than the Daniels, God. And we ask, Father, that even as they continue, Lord, to be consistent in learning and applying the principles that they've learned today, we pray, God, that they will do extremely well, Father, and we thank you, God, that this will be a testimony of your goodness over their lives. And we pray, Father, that even despite the circumstances, despite the backgrounds that we all might come from, we thank you, Lord, that you are concerned with us, my God. And we pray, Father, that you will continue to just be with them, strengthen them, anoint them, my God, to learn. And we ask, oh God, that you will continue to protect them and that you will continue to give them everything that they need, that they may excel in their exams. So we ask all this in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, don't leave until you get all the booklets. So make sure you get everything. Thank you to Zach for live streaming today. Next week there will be no live streaming, but it will be recorded on video and it will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel. So you can always download the video again. Sorry. Okay. Please stay seated. We're going to send someone to collect your reg forms. And then one table at a time, you can leave through that door there on my left. You'll have a pack that you can collect, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Some of our guests that are here, you're welcome to just stay and have some snacks that are prepared for you. And you can also meet one another. Thank you, everyone. See you next week, Friday. Students, please remain seated until you get everything that's needed, and someone will collect your forms from you. Thank you.